This is Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, and he's got a huge problem. Picture this. Every single year, nearly 1 million people are disappearing from his island nation. Not moving away, not hiding, they're just gone. And I ain't talking about some sci-fi movie here. This is real life, and it's happening right now in Japan. Imagine if the entire city of San Francisco just vanished into thin air every 12 months. That's essentially what's happening to Japan's population, and it's accelerating like a runaway train heading straight off a cliff. Last year alone, Japan lost 908,574 people, the biggest annual drop on record. We're talking about the equivalent of Georgetown, Texas, just evaporating from existence. Now, let me paint you a picture using a metaphor that'll stick with you. Think of Japan as a massive, ancient tree, one of those magnificent cherry blossoms that the country is famous for. This tree has been growing strong for centuries, its branches reaching toward the sky, its roots deep in rich cultural soil. But here's the thing, this tree is dying from the inside out, and nobody can figure out how to save it. The leaves on this tree, those represent the Japanese people. And right now, those leaves are falling faster than new ones can grow. In 2024, only 687,689 new leaves sprouted, the lowest number since records began in 1968. Meanwhile, nearly 1.6 million leaves withered and fell away, the highest death count ever recorded. Do the math, and you'll see why this tree is looking pretty bare. But wait, it gets worse. The way this tree is structured is completely upside down. In a healthy tree, you'd expect the lower branches to be thick and strong, supporting the delicate upper branches. But Japan's tree, it's got these massive, heavy upper branches, representing the elderly who make up nearly 30% of the population, being supported by increasingly thin, fragile lower branches. The working-age population, those between 15 and 64, only make up 59% of the tree now. Compare that to the global average of 65%, and you can see how this tree is struggling under its own weight. Here's where things get really wild. This isn't some sudden disease that hit Japan overnight. This tree has been slowly dying for 16 consecutive years, shrinking from its peak of 126.6 million people in 2009 down to 120 million today. But the roots of this problem go way deeper, all the way back to the 1970s, when Japan's fertility rate first started dropping like a stone.
So what's killing this tree? Well, imagine the soil around it has become toxic over decades. The economic soil has been depleted by years of stagnation. Japan's been stuck in economic quicksand since the 1990s. Young people look at their future and see uncertainty, job insecurity, and sky-high living costs, especially in cities like Tokyo, where a decent apartment can cost more than most people's entire yearly salary. Then there's the cultural soil that's become increasingly hostile to family growth. Picture this. In Japan's traditional society, it's still expected that women become full-time mothers once they have children, essentially ending their careers. But modern Japanese women are highly educated and career-driven. They're faced with an impossible choice: have a baby and kiss your professional dreams goodbye, or pursue your career and remain childless. It's like asking someone to choose between breathing with their left lung or their right lung. And the men? They're working themselves into the ground with some of the longest work hours on the planet. The average Japanese father gets home so late that his kids are already asleep. How are you supposed to start a family when you're never home to see the family you already have? It's a vicious cycle that feeds on itself. But here's the kicker. Even the government's solutions feel like trying to water a dying tree with a teaspoon. They've thrown money at the problem: childcare subsidies, housing allowances, even encouraging fathers to take paternity leave. It's like putting Band-Aids on a tree that's rotting from the core.
The real-world impact of this demographic disaster is staggering. Imagine entire villages becoming ghost towns, because that's literally happening. Rural areas are being abandoned as young people flee to cities, leaving behind only the elderly. Schools are closing because there aren't enough children to fill them. Hospitals are overwhelmed because there aren't enough young healthcare workers to care for the aging population. The pension system? It's like a Ponzi scheme that's running out of new investors. You need young workers paying into the system to support retirees. But when you've got more people leaving the workforce than entering it, the math just doesn't work. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a massive hole in the bottom. And here's what really keeps Japanese officials up at night. This isn't a problem that can be fixed quickly, even if they found the perfect solution tomorrow. Even if Japan somehow managed to double its birth rate overnight, which, let's be honest, isn't happening, the population would continue shrinking for decades. Why? Because you can't undo 50 years of demographic damage in a few years. Think of it this way. If our tree suddenly started producing twice as many leaves, it would still take decades for those tiny new leaves to grow strong enough to support the massive, aging upper branches. The young people being born today won't reach their prime working and childbearing years until the 2040s and 2050s. That's a long time to keep a dying tree alive. But here's where a tiny ray of hope creeps in. Some experts are starting to see signs, microscopic signs, that Japan might be learning to adapt. Immigration policies are slowly loosening up, bringing in foreign workers who can help support the economy. Technology is stepping up too, with robots and AI starting to fill some gaps in the workforce. It's like giving our dying trees some artificial support structures and maybe introducing some hardy new species to help share the load. The government has also started getting more creative and desperate, which honestly might be exactly what this situation needs. They're experimenting with everything from AI-powered matchmaking services to redesigning cities to be more family-friendly. Some local governments are literally paying people to have babies and move to rural areas. It sounds crazy, but when you're facing demographic extinction, crazy might be exactly what you need. Recent data suggests that while the situation is still dire, the rate of decline might be stabilizing slightly. It's like the tree has stopped losing leaves quite as rapidly, even though it's still losing them. Not exactly cause for celebration, but maybe, just maybe, a sign that the freefall might be slowing. The truth is, Japan is conducting one of the largest social experiments in human history, whether they wanted to or not. They're showing the world what happens when a modern, developed society faces rapid population decline. And the whole world is watching because Japan isn't alone in this fight. South Korea, Italy, Germany, they're all facing their own versions of the same demographic crisis.
So, what can we learn from Japan's struggle? Well, for starters, demographic problems are like climate change. By the time you really notice them, you're already decades behind on solutions. The decisions Japan made in the 1970s and 1980s are determining their fate today. The decisions they make now will determine their fate in 2050 and beyond. This story isn't over yet. Japan has survived earthquakes, tsunamis, economic crashes in 2 world wars. They've rebuilt their entire society from scratch before, and they might just figure out how to do it again. But this time, they're not fighting an external enemy, they're fighting time itself, biology, and centuries of cultural expectations. Whether Japan can save its dying tree remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure. The whole world better pay attention to what happens next, because this demographic winter might be coming to a country near you sooner than you think. Thanks for watching, and if this video opened your eyes to just how wild demographic trends can get, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the forces shaping our world. Let me know in the comments. Do you think Japan can turn this around, or are we watching the slow motion collapse of one of the world's most advanced societies? And hey, if you want to see more content about global demographic trends, population explosions in other parts of the world, or how technology might save us all from demographic disaster, let me know what you want to see next. Just remember, this video is for educational and entertainment purposes. I'm not giving anyone life advice about when to have kids or move to Japan. Do your own research, talk to experts, and make your own informed decisions. Until next time, keep questioning everything, and I'll see you in the next video.